Greetings, printing enthusiasts. I'm Vicky Soma, and thank you for joining us for another episode of How Would You Slice That? If you're not familiar with the show, we try to combine a little bit of community time, discussion, and bonding with some maybe slicing strategies, tips, and tricks. So, and the most important part, we stream on Tuesdays at our prime numbers, like the 17th. And if you aren't familiar with the show, my co-host is Dr. Lawrence Nightingale, who runs Hello Innovation Lab at Northern Virginia Community College. Hello, Lawrence. How are you?
Hey, Vicky, how's it going?
I'm doing great.
Good.
What you've been up to?
I got to talk to a bunch of people at a college about the work that I've done with the 3D printing lab at Nova. And it's something that it was a college in Maryland, and there are college courses that are being offered for credit, at colleges around the country to teach students about 3D printing. Now, they're not all transferable. That's the big thing to look out for. But I got to tell them about my story with 3D printing and how we put students into schools and talk to students about technology. And it was one of those things that it's one of those things where 3D printing, is something that I am passionate about, excited about, and I have to figure out how to get the rest of the world excited about it so they can get to the same level as we are, like we are with How Would You Slice That. But it was good. It was good to talk to people about those achievements and what we've done. And also, I learned a few new tricks on Bamboo Studio for pulling in STLs and putting them onto other STLs and making different designs and things like that. So I've had a pretty interesting week for 3D printing.
Oh, nice. We might have to get you to demo that one day.
Good point. And then,
I think later in the episode, I don't want to be a spoiler alert, but our guest is really good at braiding people and getting them excited about 3D printing and building communities and kind of building her own customer base.
Very much is.
We can talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. On my side, I think on a previous banter session, I talked about working with the Cocoa Press. And I was aspiring to try to make little chocolate DNAs, chocolate double helixes, and I have something that finally I feel like is presentable and I'm excited about. And so here's a couple of those little DNAs.
Oh, that's great.
Then here's they print upright, which you can tell from the layer lines and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I have this little tiny rectangle that I add to the bottom of it, and then just pulls right off. And then I love the way it looks from the top.
Oh yes. Oh wow, that's wonderful.
It's so cool.
Edible science.
I have to show you the pictures because they're all gone. And then this is something our guest also brought up is a lot of times people share just like the good things. So sometimes her customers have an unrealistic expectation of what 3D printing can do. Yes. So just as a reminder, I had my fair share of fails on that. So hey, that's it. I think I can't remember if this one. I had one collapse on itself, a DNA. I've had some that didn't even have you couldn't even see like the little stripes or anything. This one I was a little too zealous with my overhangs. So yeah,
they look
sharing not the shiny stuff, but also the process as well.
The 3D printing is the scientific method, in motion. Fail, learn, amend, try again, and that's kind of one of my favorite things about it. So yes, the process is huge, but I think you're learning tremendous amounts by making these changes. It seems like this DNA, the two sides are pretty far apart, but the final process and the final iteration, the two sides were quite close together. It seems like you reduced the size substantially.
I did reduce the size, but mainly it's handled the overhangs differently.
Really?
I did
Okay.
more of like a cylinder, and they weren't as pronounced in the final version. Well, not the final, but my sixth revision, which was the one that I showed at the beginning.
Oh my goodness. And you get to eat all the mistakes, which is the great thing about
Yes,
Circle
that's
Set.
something that Mike in the chat just pointed out. He's like, "Oh, Drad, it failed. Have to eat it."
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely more stringent, results from our actions than eating chocolate when you fail. So yeah, wow, that's great. That's a great thing to share. Thank you so much for that.
Oh yeah, well, I'm
Yeah,
excited. It
yeah,
was my pleasure to share.
cool. So who we got to this week?
Yeah, I'm also excited about our guest. So tonight's guest regularly travels with Sabrina Carpenter. And that would be Sabrina Carpenter, her A1 Mini, one of the many printers that she owns and names after female singers. And the first of those printers was a mono price select mini that she got at a yard sale for $50. So during the pandemic, she fell in love with 3D printing, like a lot of us have. And she managed to entice a number of other people into the hobby as well. And then soon she was bulk buying and delivering supplies to those people that she brought into the hobby. So this has evolved into one of her four small businesses, and it turned her Honda Element into what she calls the Filament Mobile. So in the age of Amazon and online sales, one thing that sets this small business apart is she created a 3,000 square foot real life brick and mortar store. It's a 3D printing store in Raleigh, North Carolina. It carries over 400 types of filament, and she was the first U.S. small business authorized to sell the Bamboo Labs printers. But most importantly, this store is serving as a community center of sorts. So they have build days, and they have classes, they have D&D campaigns. It's just been a congregation place for makers and creators, and they can hang out and do what they do best, which is making and creating. So she's also making sure to make a space that she wants to be in. So there's pink and disco mirrors, and there's a claw machine where one of the prizes is a Diamondback full kit. So in addition to all that, which I think is already a lot, she's an international traveler and speaker. And in May, she spoke at the Printed World Conference in Amsterdam. And the topic was connecting the 3D printing community through in-person experiences.
Wow.
And then, one more thing. She has her own filament color named after her too. So that's just like, it seems to be a bar that you've made it. So everybody tonight, yeah, we are very excited to welcome Beverly Tan from EcoVade 3D. Yay!
Hello. Hi, thanks for having me. That was such a great intro. Like, wow. I know my intros are always like really long because I do a lot somehow.
Yes. What happens when you do a lot, Beverly? That's for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, I know. And I get to have so much fun doing it. Like every day I'm like, this is my job now? Okay, cool.
Well, that's a wonderful feeling. Congratulations on all of your achievements, and being able to have your own filament named after you. I don't think I'm going to reach that one, but that's an awesome thing. So tell us about, kind of fill in the gaps a little bit about how did you get started with 3D printing? How long ago did you start with 3D printing?
So I started 3D printing around 18 or 19, somewhere around there, with a modified select mini, as you heard, that I got for $50 at a garage sale. Funny enough, what was supposed to be my actual first 3D printer was some printer, I don't even remember but it was like one of those when there were 3D printers all up and down Kickstarter. I spent like $300 on one that never made it.
Never showed up.
Never knew what that was like. It was a little bit of a terrifying experience, but then so that's why I don't have any money for a cool printer, because I was, in my early 20s at the time. And, I was running a TV production company at the time, and I was not about to drop $500 on a printer because they used to be expensive. So I had my mini, and then I was working as a TV producer. I surprise moved to LA because my big girl job that funded this whole thing is I produce television, as I'm a casting and development producer, so I make up reality shows and
Oh
find the
boy.
crazy people to go on them,
Oh
mostly business
my.
shows. So that's a lot of fun. And then the pandemic hit, and you can't make TV in a pandemic.
Right.
So
Yes,
I was very
absolutely.
unemployed. So I ended up producing a couple podcasts, but also 3D printing a lot because I didn't leave my house for literally a year.
Mhm.
So like I got my groceries delivered. I just did not leave my house. It was kind of
Wow.
great, honestly, not have to go out. So I 3D printed a lot, and then around the holidays, I made a lot of F-bomb snowflakes, and then
Yes.
dumpster fires. I
Yes.
did earrings that said "Never forget" on a roll of toilet paper, like lots of silly stuff like that. And
Uh-huh.
it started, and that's kind of how I had to pay my bills for a minute. And then the pandemic ended, and I went back to work, and it went really well for me. But I love 3D printing. But during that pandemic, I knew I had to order everything in. But as that was winding down, I was like, I'm out of this color or something, because I would have an order and I'd be like, I'm like, where do I get, if I was knitting, if I was painting, I could go to a store or I could get it
Yes.
dashed to me, right?
Right.
And there was just no options back in 2020. So after like
Yes,
6 months
definitely
of
not.
begging every business friend of mine to open a store so I could shop at, none of them want to take the risk. So I
Mhm.
decided I was going to do it,
Uh-huh.
and no one would give me a loan. So because at the time, there were no successful 3D printing stores. There had been a couple attempts around 1819 that all closed.
Right.
None of them
There
actually worked out.
there was one
So
in Richmond for a hot minute there, but none
there
in California or North Carolina. Where were you trying to start it up?
in North Carolina, because I can't afford California rent.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go. There we go.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
the
no
easy
3D printing
answer.
businesses that I
And
knew of.
North Carolina was a better market too for it,
Oh.
because it's like specifically in the Raleigh area, it's a very highly educated area. So it's one of the, like, Durham County is one of the top concentrations of PhDs in the country. And it was very family oriented. And those were the
Mhm.
two things I was really looking for: family
Uh-huh.
oriented and education oriented, because those were the parents that were going to send their kids to 3D printing class, which was part of my master's
Ah.
plan.
Yes, they would. Yes, they would. Yes. And
Yeah.
they did
So
that
I
in our
sent
area too, especially during the pandemic, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
Exactly. And I was in high school robotics here, and like the robotics teams are like the football teams around here. You
Yeah.
like they are beloved, and they have
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
very active booster clubs. And it was all part of my master plan, because at first I said, okay, the banks were like, so where's a successful 3D printing store? I was like, well, there isn't one. They all kind of
Mhm.
closed. They're like, okay, so where do people, get 3D printing supplies? And I was like, the internet. Then they're
Okay.
like, how do you prove how many 3D printer like audience like is actually around you? I was like, I have no way of doing that either.
Right. Yeah, the
But if I
companies
teach
just
them
don't
how to
disclose.
print and I show them how accessible it is, they're going to get into it, I promise. Anyways,
Ah.
he said no, so I had to fund it out of my own bank account.
It was
Oh my
fueled
goodness.
by handbags, right?
Yep, it was fueled by handbag. I got my
Oh,
seed
Handbags.
money because in the pandemic, the Chanel handbag, like Chanel stock went up 7%, but Chanel handbags went up 36%. So I sold my
whoa.
handbag collection for my seed money
Oh, what?
and spent it all on filament and printers.
That's that is a wonderful way to be able to utilize handbags. That's probably
Yep,
the best
I just
handbag
love
story I've ever
fashion.
heard.
Now I had to 3D print my handbags because I have a couple fancy ones. I'm not a
Mhm.
Birkin person. I don't have a Birkin, but
Mm.
I collected some vintage handbags. Made some good financial investments in my 20s. While
Uh-huh.
working, and I never bought a bag I couldn't resell
Oh
for later.
wow.
So
Yeah. Yeah, we just had a guest on the show maybe about 45 days ago, 2 months ago, that 3D prints handbags. Daniel Kaizen, you need to look him up.
Oh,
oh,
I
I
think
know him.
you
Oh,
both were
okay, cool.
speakers at the same
Yeah,
conference,
we
right?
hung out. Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay,
met him a bunch
cool.
of times. We hung out in Amsterdam.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, all right. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that 3D printed handbags is going to be a thing very, very soon. So
oh yeah, I know like 4 or 5 handbag creators, and that's the thing. I'm not a designer. I buy my designs, design them, like or commission them. Like I'm awful at CAD. Like I'm just not good at this.
well, but you're good at starting the business. The business
Exactly.
is. And
I'm
so,
a good creative director, but I'm not actually a good creative.
oh wow, okay, that's a talent to have though, because to be able to control that energy and move it in a way that is utilitarian, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal.
Exactly. And that's like what a lot of my job entails. It's, finding someone who has the skills, like having the vision and finding the right people to execute it. And also communicating with them well enough that it can happen correctly.
Wow. Well, and so as you were putting together your brick and mortar 3D printing store, I'm sure that you ran into some of the ones that we're all familiar with. Matter Hackers in California, Printed Solid in Delaware. And there was a 3D printing store in Richmond. But the one in Richmond was the only one that was brick and mortar. So
yeah, but they're not public stores.
Yeah.
Where you can just walk in and buy a 3D printer. Like those stores just didn't exist.
Right, exactly. So my question is, how is it that you formulated the idea to have a brick and mortar in this industry? People buying classes and wanting to enrich the experiences of their children, the highly educated population. What other things contributed to the compulsion to do brick and mortar around 3D printing?
Well, back in the day, I got into 3D printing, and all we really had was the internet. And, I definitely grew my skills a lot around the end of 2019 or 2020 and, during the pandemic. And when you look like me, back in 2020, the 3D printing crowd was a very specific demographic, and I did not fit that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that goes for all of us on this one, actually, on this show.
Yeah. Like the demographic for 3D printers, I really didn't fit in. And people definitely would, I would be showing a video of me, repairing something, and someone's like, and they would be, oh, you need to switch to a direct drive. As I'm repairing a direct drive hot end.
Wow.
Or they'll always say something completely crazy, or just, that's just like, I know that. That's, and they would just willingly ignore the fact that like all my videos at that time on TikTok were all repair videos. And they'd be like, oh, you're terrible about. So I got a lot of hate actually.
I believe it. Well, I mean, that's
if you read,
internet, though. That's the internet.
If you read,
yeah.
Someone paid me to fix their printer for them. I'm just showing you how. But they don't want to listen to me. So I really wanted to create a space where people weren't afraid to ask questions and to learn, because it's really hard to ask questions, because people would just kind of shame you and they would be kind of rude. That's why there's some really great groups. I think that's where Vicky and I met, on 3D printing for women and
girls. The women, yes.
The women's group.
Yes.
Which is a little bit more helpful than some other groups, honestly.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we hear that story a lot on that.
That's why that group exists.
Group that they've experienced hostility in the other groups. It's saddening to me, because my experience when I first came into the 3D printing community was nothing but uplifting, and I met some key ambassadors who really lifted me up. So it does make me sad that so many women or so many other people in the space are hitting that kind of resistance. And how did you have the fortitude to just, to make your own? I mean, how did you have your fortitude to like see past that negative initial experience?
Well, I didn't want other people to feel that way. I wanted people, and I was like, this was a space run by someone that, like me, by women, like people that do look like me aren't going to be intimidated to come into the space. They can come and they can ask questions. And, back in the day, we had to learn how to paper level. And I'll be honest, learning to paper level from the internet was hard. But it was the pandemic, so it's not like anyone was going to teach me. But, like kids can get that like light bulb moment of like, oh, this is what it's supposed to do. And, like the amount of times people will send me videos like, hey, what do you think's wrong with printing? I was like, honestly, I don't know. But if you bring it and I could look at it and I was like, okay, point to the part that's making the sound. And I'll be, okay, I got you. I know how to fix this now. You know, I wanted like an in-place like repair shop too, because printers break. And, you know, and I hate the people that are saying, oh, if you don't know how to maintain your printer, like you shouldn't have. I was like, no, because I don't know how to maintain my car. I take it to the mechanic, get an oil change.
I ran into a lot of that too. Traveling through the 3D printing community and experience and things of that nature. You know, my experience around those kind of comments and things like that, I kind of took them more to mean that the people who are making those comments they really are not as much of a practitioner as maybe they're presenting themselves to be. And then I also felt like technology, culture, the culture of computer programming and IT and even things like cybersecurity and engineering, it's a very like one-upsmanship type of organization of people. And I feel like that bleeds out in all kinds of ways. So I definitely got that. I definitely got those
like,
vibes
want
too.
To fight Apple versus Android forever. The way they want to fight over printer brands, and I'm like, I have like 8 brands of printer in my store, and I have
you sell both Prusa and Bamboo Labs, right? You have
I might be the only place that sells both Prusa and Bamboo Labs in person.
I can't think of any other right now for sure.
Yeah, wow. I have a Prusa and a Bamboo Lab. I have them together. They can coexist.
They're supposed to have the equivalent amount of shelf space in my store, except you know, supply chain is, as long as it's their fault, it's okay as long as it's their fault that they don't, you know, logistics that I don't have equal amount of printers. It's not my
goodness. Wow. So you opened your store, and because you wanted to provide opportunities for people to have positive experiences around the technology.
Exactly.
And when did your store open?
So we opened in, I think, 21 as a pop-up. You know, I had a friend that was a building manager. Yeah, it moved really quick. I had a friend that was a building manager for a building that was going to get torn down. And he was like, look, this building's getting torn down in 6 months. No one is going to lease it. So $500 a month. It was like 400 square feet. It was tiny. So, but he was like, so I said, you know what? Let me do something. Let me have a physical place for people to buy filament. And it was really hard to get started, actually, because every major company, this was when we only had big companies, you know, like we didn't have a lot of small up and coming companies that wanted to work with coming companies. So I would call up all these 3D printing companies, be like, hey, I want to be an in-person reseller. And they're all like, you're crazy. Like no one does that. And then I'd be like, well, I'm opening a 3D printing store. And they're like, great, show us pictures of your store. And I was like, I don't have one because I don't have printers to sell.
Oh my gosh.
In the store. That's why I'm talking to you.
So did you ever do any exploration with See-Me CNC?
We did.
You did? Okay. All right.
Yeah, we looked at some CNC stuff, and you know, we are currently in talks with X Tool to sell our first lasers. I didn't want to do lasers for a really, really long time, and I still don't, because I don't want to actually turn it into a maker store. I want to turn it into I want to stay a 3D printing store.
Specifically,
that will open all these doors because I don't want to deal with being a wood shop on top of that. You know, like it would double the amount of inventory. So, and that's why people are like, why don't you sell more machines? Why don't you sell crickets? And I was like, because I have several friends who own craft hobby stores that started selling, we're going to sell cricket. We're going to sell this. We're going to sell that. We're going to sell lasers. Right. And almost every single one of them have focused in on a specific thing. Like, you know, like my friend owns a hobby store and, you know, Custom Made Better, actually. So if any of you laser, you've probably heard of Custom Made Better. She's my neighbor. Literally we live in the same town, like a mile from each other.
Awesome.
But Custom Made Better started as an all-around store. We were actually looking to partner with them at some point to sell 3D printers in the store. They only sell acrylic now.
Really?
Yeah, because the focusing was just worth a lot more money. Oh, hey, here's our first guest.
Wow. Specializing.
I get jealous when I talk to the computer more than him.
Specializing. And so, I mean, you know, just so I make sure that I'm understanding like the time in which you were selling printers, what companies were the printers coming from that you were selling? Were the only people who were making printers that were completely put together was Prusa. Prusa was the only game in town that you could buy a
Prusa
box.
was not going to sell to me at first. Prusa
Well,
wasn't selling to anyone.
They weren't selling to anyone in 2021. Seems like it was coming straight from, I guess, Poland. Is that right?
Czech
Republic.
Yeah.
Czech Republic.
Yeah,
Okay,
I was also their first brick and mortar that wasn't printed solid, who was owned by Prusa.
Oh, so, wow. Okay.
Yeah. This is recent, I believe, right?
Yeah, this is like last Printopia.
Oh, recent. Wow. Oh, that's great. Yeah. So we were there.
Like Reality was the first printer brand I sold because they were the only ones, mostly because they didn't care and I didn't have the greatest margin at first, and I actually don't sell Reality anymore. And Cookie Cat was the first filament company that gave me a chance.
Wow! Oh, those colors
because they were all Cookie Cat only had 12 colors at the time too.
Wow! In 2021, I've got some Cookie Cat in my living room right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So back in the day, Cookie Cat had 12 colors, and this is before all the elixirs even existed, before they like invented the elixirs. But they were some of my first industry friends. I love Nathan and Melissa, but we actually bonded because I worked on 90 Day Fiance, and Melissa's a huge fan. That's how we became friends. But we went to all of our first trade shows together.
Wow!
As the new kids.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. So I see them every trade show. We always try to get drinks.
Oh, okay.
I already know the answer to this from another appearance of Beverly. But Beverly, or Lords, try to guess what her largest profit margin is. On what product? What kind of product does she get the largest?
Okay. Guess what the largest profit margins is, and I'm at a little bit of a loss because I'm thinking that you should sell parts too, but I don't know. I would say parts.
We do sell accessories. Anything 3D printing.
Okay,
I'm not counting anything 3D printed.
No, I got you. I'm going to say that your biggest margins are going to come from bed adhesive.
No, because we don't sell bed adhesive.
You don't sell bed adhesive.
Has to be really close. We're going to have bed adhesive because it's going to be EcoBait branded, and the only thing stopping us right now, because we have the formula and everything, is the fact that tariffs on liquids are really, really high right now.
Ooh, I believe
that's why. No, it's being made. We just can't get it over here.
So magnetic beds, then I'm gonna guess magnetic beds is my next thing.
Yeah, it's beds.
All right, yeah.
You're the first person that's ever guessed correctly. Yeah, it's actually the printer beds.
Wow, I believe it. I mean, they work so incredibly well, and they don't seem to be made of very much at all. So I can see how that would happen. I can see that's great. So you sell beds for of course for all the Prusa products and for all the bamboo products.
Yeah, and a lot of them are interchangeable. If you took an A1 mini bed and turned it sideways, it fits on the Prusa mini.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, fun fact.
Wow. And so you do the beds that have the designs on them too, like Kaizen uses? Whoa, yeah.
And something very special is you've heard of the Beverly Tan filament, which is actually not on the market. What is about to hit the market is the Beverly Tan build plate. We're doing a hot pink build plate. So if you look on my socials, you'll see the preview and the prototypes that are coming in. So, and we can custom etch them too.
And that's great. That's great. Yeah, I mean, the storefront aspect of it is staggering. It's really, really, really important for the community. And so you've grown from you said Anycubic, and you went. Who was in between Prusa and Bamboo? Because Bamboo came on the scene, I think that was 2 years ago. So,
so we sold Elegoo's for a bit too, and we still do. We've got some cherry carbons coming in, and it's shifted because some companies have had better release years than others. So we've got some cherry carbons that have just come in, but now we're primarily Bamboo is our top seller at the moment. We have Prusa, but we're having just logistic shipping stuff. Like we love the Prusa stuff, but we're having a hard time getting it in sometimes.
Oh, well, I mean, that's definitely the world we live in nowadays.
Yep. Oh, you found it.
There's the pink bed.
With my pink printer.
Wow.
So, yep, we're gonna have pink beds soon.
Wow.
We also are working with so on top of running the 3D printing store, I also co-own a PR company, and I do some KOL and brand management work for some printer companies. So I consult actually. So the companies pay me to help them connect with reviewers, KOLs, discover new talent, find their next spokesperson, as well as their PR, press releases, and things. If they're trying to do like an ambassador initiative, if they're trying to do an activation or event, they hire me to do stuff.
Find the right people. Wow, that's great. I mean, that's like that's 360 degrees of digital fabrication right there. That's great.
Yep.
The people in the
Look,
community.
I always say I do too many squats to do anything half-assed.
You are full of these. I was reading an article on you, and it wasn't about the 3D printing stores, about one of your other stores. And I think you said something like, I drink a lot of wine, and when I drink wine, I don't get hangovers. I open businesses or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Wow, that is great. That is great. And so, you know, the thing, did you, one more question about the legacy store, like the between 2021 and now. Did you guys ever sell any of the 32-bit boards? Did you ever sell duets?
We actually didn't. So
no, okay.
We didn't do a lot of parts and Voron stuff, mostly because I didn't have time to learn. I wanted to learn how to build it. We are considering doing more Voron stuff now because I have staff to help me. On staff we've got Noah, who's my GM. You've seen him around the internet as Waters, and then we have we call our like almost staff. They just kind of live in the shop. Digital Dragon just kind of has a key and shows up. I'll walk in and it'll be dark and he'll just be there working in the dark. And I'll be like,
comforting. It's comforting.
Yeah, he's just there. If they like both of them do that. We've got a couple other like Sandhills 3D, like 3D printer like me. Like we just have like this cloud of streamers that just kind of show up, which is great because that's why we're building a content studio. We're partnering with another 3D printing company, and we're building out a content studio for brands to send preview items, and we can work with smaller creators to come in and do review videos and stuff. Creators that are up and coming and just may not have the following. If there's like some very limited, prototypes are going out, they might not meet all the requirements, but if they still want that exclusive first look pre-release, they can come to our studio and make at least a pre-release video, probably get a goodie bag out of it, which isn't a free printer, but, it's a good collaboration for the right type of, creator. So like one of my clients is going to be, they're only sending out 10 of the F2 demo for this printer. And one of them is going to be in Ecovate 3D, and it will be there for the use of smaller creators that should be able to apply to come in and get the exclusive look up to, a month before that printer is officially released for pre-order, and a couple months before it gets sent out, it gets shipped. Wow. So we're really excited for, stuff like this and bringing opportunities to the community. And, that's why I just want to keep expanding on like the world of 3D printing, because I didn't want to put myself in the box of, I'm just like a retail business owner. I wanted a creative, I owned a makerspace at one point, and makerspaces don't make money. It's just not a great business model for making money. And staffing and the insurance is very expensive. So I wanted the feeling of community. So I was like, so it's a community space. We'll have build days. We'll have classes. I want to fill it with people because the rent's expensive and I don't pay this much rent. Not nerds. So, once that's going, and as that grows and as my team grows, it's been really great because I've had opportunities to do things like build plates with companies.
Yes.
And getting your own color filament.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
so that filament that I showed you last time, that is actually not on the market because that company is moving their factory. But there's another company we're very close to, and there will be a release with a different company for a different Beverly Tan filament.
Okay.
In which I don't even know what color it's going to be. Yeah, so so if you're not planning on Printopia, you will be the first one to see the reveal of the Beverly Tan filament. In which
wait, did you say the 3D Printopia?
Yeah, 3D Printopia.
Okay.
A different company will be releasing a Beverly Tan filament.
Nice.
And they won't tell me what color it is yet, so I don't actually know. I'm assuming.
I'm sure they will do you justice, right? I'm sure.
My guess it's going to be some form of pink, but they said there's 2 surprises for me in this, so I'm very excited. And I've known them for quite some time, so it'll be a really fun filament knowing them.
And then on the subject of, I have a couple chat questions for you. Wait, first hold on. I'm going to introduce the harder question, or the one that you may want to think on. And then we'll go, we'll get that out there in your head, and then we'll go to the easy question, and then we can come back. All right. So the first one, someone said, so you came from 3D printing in media world. Any hard lessons from switching to retail? So let that one process.
Alrighty.
And then the easy one, we're talking about the pink bill plates. Is that going to be in the store at the next maker events to see?
Yep, the prototype is living in the store right now. It's prototype 1. They're sending me a second color edition that will be here in the next week or 2, and then I'm going to choose between which of them is going to be the official Beverly Tan plate. So, but that one is currently on the pink printer, and yeah, so it's kind of starting my next little project that I want to do. I want to start building people customized printers. The way that you're getting your cars all customized, and not customized the way Vorons are customized, because I don't know how to build a Voron. Aesthetically, I'll make it pink. So that pink printer is also getting a acrylic glittery pink door. So her name is FDM Namanon, and she's themed after Chapel Roan. So, so they're all themed. So not just named after, they're themed. So we're gonna do the Charlie XCX Brat printer next. Will probably be the X1 Carbon next to it. So we're having a lot of fun. I still need Sabrina Carpenter is a mini, so it's not like there's like a case for me to customize. So I'm still figuring out what I'm gonna do with her, but I think it's gonna be espresso themed. We'll see.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. And as for the first question, so I worked on some major business shows that you might have heard of in TV. So my job for a minute was reading like 30 business plans a day. So I got a lot of ideas. Switching to retail, it's I was already used to dealing with crazy people. It used to be through a computer, so I had to learn. This is my first retail job, so I never worked retail. So I have to admit, for the first 2 years, I didn't have a real inventory system. I could see it with my eyes, which it helped. I used a little POS system. It was very DIY, and I was like, yeah, I'll just restock when I use my eyeballs to see what's out and then reorder it. And I just lived like that for a couple of years. And all my friends who have retail business are absolutely horrified when they find out. It's better now because I hired someone to do it. Because when am I going to sit and catalog 400 filaments? And the printer counts were always accurate. The filament counts were not.
I love your business plan story. It reminds me, I think I read an article with Aaron Sorkin, of course, a prolific writer, script writer. And I think he worked in a movie theater cleaning when he was younger, and he would just hear the movies and hear the dialogue. And so that's kind of
how you get good.
Yeah. So
I like business plans. Yeah, I've always been a business nerd because I also prior to going to reality TV, I own a commercial studio, so I did commercials for a lot of small businesses. The market wasn't that great over in Raleigh, so I ended up moving to LA to not do commercials but to do reality TV, which was honestly I still do it sometimes. I love it. The work environments are great. It's all girls and gays, so the work environment is just really nice. There's some straight men around, honestly.
Sounds like a good time.
There's no fragile male ego in the room.
There's a guess on your filament. Maybe it's rainbow filament.
Ooh, maybe. We'll see. Like I said, I'm gonna be surprised. They're gonna tell me ahead of time, but I'm not telling anyone if I even know.
So Karen, you say that you're less of a designer. Oh, you got there's another question, Vicky?
No. You called her Karen because of the
I'm sorry,
chat.
Beverly.
The
Yes,
name
Karen
was on the
Howard.
screen.
Beverly, I'm sorry. Beverly, you work less in design, as you said, and you're more into fabrication. And so can you tell us a little bit about what it is that you like to fabricate most? What it is that you like to 3D print most in your practice, and how has that changed over time?
Well, I started 3D printing camera mods, because I was a filmmaker, and
Oh,
that was like my first thing. And I hardly ever print camera mods now. I print a lot of like keychains and earrings. I love fashion, so I always try to go to every 3D printing event with something new and wearable. And I'm starting to run out of ideas, honestly. My favorite's this foamy TPU handbag that I wear like everywhere, all the events. And then I recently for Amsterdam did a dragon scale corset, and I don't know how to sew, so that was a challenge.
oh wow, okay.
Oh, I have that. Here we go.
Yep. So I wore that again. I don't sew, so excuse the not great sewing, but I know how to 3D print, and that
Wow,
was
okay.
really
So yeah,
cool. I didn't design.
was
It
that
was
in Amsterdam? That wasn't the Amsterdam one, was it?
Yep, that was for Amsterdam.
Okay, yeah. So you definitely talked to Daniel about this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. That's great. Okay, and so tell us about, Vicky was telling us a little bit, Beverly, about some of the ways in which you came about being able to build that foam purse, and there are some techniques and tricks that maybe we would be able to benefit from.
Yeah, so I was at Formnext last year, and I ran to this company called Recreuse, and they do a foaming TPU type. I'm not even sure if it's considered TPU anymore, but it's a foaming flexible filament, and I fell in love like instantly. Like
Okay.
I literally was talking, it was just like, so who's your US reseller? Because I need this. And they were like, we don't have one. I was like, well, I wonder, I think I can help you. So now we sell Recreuse here in the US. We're their primary US reseller and distributor. It is one of the very few things we ship on our website. And that's the other like thing with opening a brick and mortar that people said I was insane for. I said, I'm not going to ship because most printers lose their warranty.
Devastated me when I wanted the show your shirt. Wait, hold on.
Oh yeah.
We gotta put you in solo
I made
mode.
this shirt because again,
hold on.
Oh,
is it backwards on the screen? It says print like a girl. So, and it's in like this cute, like puffy, foamy. Oh, there it is.
It was a little slow.
It's this cute, like puffy, foamy.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is that the same? Wait, is that the filament, the foamy filament on the shirt?
No, but I wanted a matching foam, but it's a similar technique to where it's a heat activated additive. So the same additive in the foamy ink is the same additive I think they put in the filament. So I did not 3D print on the shirt, but it's the same. It's the same idea.
Okay.
So the heat. So what you do is the heat. So it starts at around 95A, but will go all the way down to 60A depending on the heat and the temperature. Mm-hmm. So what you do is you have to under extrude it, and then you raise the temperature for the foamy to like puff up and compensate for the under extrusion. Okay. And I always say it's more art than science because I started under extruding around 60 something %, and then it'll go to like 240. But I'll watch that first layer and see like if it looks like it's over extruding, I lower the temperature. If it's under extruding, I raise the temperature because it's always just going to be, a little fickle with it. Mm-hmm. But if I wanted it denser, I could slice it to under extrude only 90% and do a lower temperature, like, 230. Mm-hmm. And I'd get a completely different texture out of this filament.
Well, Beverly, quick question for you. I mean, because I'm sitting here listening and I'm realizing that if you were able to, what is the word? Operationalize make this systematic, you would be able to tell your manufacturers what the filament profile is, and they could put that on their websites so that all Bamboo users or all Prusa users could use it. Have you considered that yet? Or
they've got all the technical specs listed in general for recommended as ranges. But yeah, that is something I told them my team will, with some testing, will probably end up just writing the profiles. I build custom profiles for.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. So if you look on it, if you scroll down on if you click on one of the filaments and scroll down, you'll actually see all of the tech specs of like density and a lot of words that I don't understand. Like, I'll be honest, like, yeah, if you scroll like way down.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, you'll get.
Oh, wait.
Somewhere.
Maybe I went too far.
Somewhere there's a bunch of technical specs on the product page.
So I guess if you click
printing parameters. There you go.
There you go.
But yeah, but it'll tell you stuff, even dry and volumetric speed. And again, a bunch of words I don't actually understand. But it has charts. I use a 0.6 nozzle, which changes things to versus a 0.4 nozzle. So.
Wow. And so.
But yeah, it expands almost 40%.
Wow. And so under extruding it and putting it through a 240-degree nozzle is what makes it expand, almost like
heat.
Yeah, almost like popcorn.
Yeah, so I go under. So yeah, they recommend 75. I go under because I want it even poofier and lighter. But if I wanted it denser, but if I'm going to carry a bag all day, I want it as light as possible. So I've gone down to 63%. Right at 248. I feel like the temperatures listed are a little bit higher than what I use. Because or maybe my mini just runs hot. I don't know. But yeah, and I print this all on like an A1 mini. So you don't need a special printer for it.
Right. I was going to ask
so that. You're changing these settings and are you using Bamboo Studio then?
Yep. And just setting it as a custom filament profile.
Do you want to give us the quick tour? Is that
I can because I have to build one for this computer. I'm using my backup computer because my main computer is in Texas getting repaired right now.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. So my local repair shop had to ship it off, so it'll be back in a week. So my computer's on vacation, but thankfully I have my travel computer because I don't like hauling like a 10-pound laptop around New York with me.
Wow.
And I do travel a lot. So I've got my little MacBook Air.
Ooh, someone needs to invent foaming chocolate to print.
Please. I love aerated chocolate.
I dig that.
So much. I swear I eat way too many samples at the Cocoa Pretzels booth at all of these. And if I do bring a filament to sell at 3D Printopia, it might be this foamy since they're the ones. So, I sell a lot of filaments now. Like we have a lot of Polymaker. We work very closely with some of these brands. So we have a lot of Polymaker in the shop. But again, no point in me bringing Polymaker to a booth because Polymaker will be there. So we might bring recrews. I'll bring printed like a girl shirts and a few more shirt designs. And of course, hopefully the pink plates will be ready by then. And we'll have pink plates for everyone. But again, like everyone thought I was crazy when I said I don't ship because a lot of 3D printers will actually lose their warranty if they get damaged between me and you because it's not getting shipped by the company. And I don't have the insurance for that. So we don't ship printers. We do ship recrews, filament, and a few small things. I think we ship like nozzles, maybe. But yeah, we try to keep our stock in for people, and they can use the website to reserve. We'll probably ship the build plates and anything like super specialty. And I'll go through the work of having to pack orders. So but online sales, like it's a lot of work to compete in spaces like Amazon, Matter Hackers, and everyone. And I was like, I'm not gonna put in the effort for that fight.
Right.
I'm gonna put in effort to create the store.
No, I mean, I think that it makes a lot of sense not to ship 3D printers. That's for sure. And also,
it's heavy, and no one wants to pay the shipping for that.
Well, yeah. You can, and you can get it, like you said, you can get it direct from the manufacturers, especially with, your top two lines. Why compete with yourself on something like that? Someone that wants to come in, have the experience, do the hands-on, learn from you. That is something that's what brick and mortar does for people. So I think
you can also pay us to set it up with you. And
walk
through every step too. Like you can book a class
to help too.
And we even have a program where you can just book a time slot for 2 hours and that you prepay. You come in and we'll walk you through all of the printer options, help you figure out which printer is for you. You buy the printer and we'll set it up with you. Get you all logged in and everything. Show you the ins and out of the slicer, because they can be intimidating for someone who's never done it, like
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot of number. Like I said, we just look at those tech specs for this filament and I'm like, I don't know what any of those words mean. I really don't. But I can show you the part I do know.
All right.
At least I can try to. So we're gonna, let's see if I remember how to do this, because it has moved a few times, but we are going to create a new custom filament on this computer. Yeah, they still haven't. Everyone's I see like, hey, have they added anything? No, they haven't.
Ooh, you should get the preview of your pink build plate and incorporate these slicers.
Yep.
That'd be awesome.
Ooh, I don't even know how to do that. So I use a TPU base because it is really similar to that, which is why I'm just going to create it off the TPU base, which I already have. I'm totally pointing at the screen like you can see my fingers.
It's okay.
We can see your mouse though.
Yeah, so I already have this. Oh yeah, you can't see my mouse. Select, copy here. Oh, okay. I guess I can. I'm just gonna copy a preset, and I'm probably gonna use a mini with a 0.4.
Ooh, do you have a pop-up window up right now?
Yes.
Okay, we just see the base of the slicer.
Oh, that's. Let me see if I can stop sharing and share the screen, the whole screen then.
Sounds good. Yep. I think she accidentally. And you're back.
Oopsies. Yeah, like I said, I own a 3D printing store. This does not mean I'm good at technology. For the record. All right. Oh, that's just us.
You ready?
Yes.
All right. Now we're talking here.
Yay. So we're gonna.
Oh my goodness.
So here is our new custom preset that we're going to edit. I took a TPU base and we're going to edit this preset. Mm-hmm. So the main thing I do is the flow ratio.
Whoa, that's way low. Oh my god.
Yep, it's at 0.6.
That's hugely low.
I'll do 0.65.
I mean, do what you like, but a lot of stuff is 1.2, 1.1, 1.2, 0.95.
With that,
when I first started out, I was trying to get up to like 2 as the flow rate. Go ahead. Yes, sorry.
Yep. So my flow ratio is 0.65 because we're going to under extrude like the hell out of this.
Yes, you are.
And then I'm going to change the recommended to between 30 and 260, which I don't actually know what it does with that. I'll be again. I don't know what I'm doing sometimes.
It's okay.
But for me personally, so this is going to be a weird one where my initial layer is going to be higher than my other layers because I want it to no, it's going to be lower. Sorry. I do it backwards. Yeah, because I want it denser for that initial layer. So it's actually going to go down to 236. And then my other layer is going to be 240, which is my usual. Now, I will eyeball that second layer to make sure 240 is actually correct. But that initial layer is going to be just a little extra under extrude, but it will be denser that way. And again, I'll look at it and I might make adjustments on the fly with it. Yeah.
There's a quick question from chat, Beverly. Is it because it expands as it comes out of the nozzle that your main offset is to tone down the flow rate? But there is isn't the temperature play a role as well?
Yep. So the higher the temperature, the more it's going to expand. So that's why if I wanted to increase the flow rate to 0.75, I would actually lower the temperature of the filament. And that's why I say it's more art than science, because it depends on the look and the feel. Like it depends on what I'm printing. if it's something I'm gonna wear, I want it to go as light as possible, which is why my flow rate's so low. But if I wanted something that was a little bit sturdier, a little more denser, like a shoe, I would actually go closer to like 80% of under extruding, and I would lower the temperature for a denser look and feel. So if you come into my store, you can actually feel 2 different prints of the exact same filament that are that feel completely different. Like it's like you get like 20 filaments in one with this. Cooling, I just unchecked the heat fan.
20 filaments. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like you get so many filaments because it just comes down to what do you do with it.
Changes in color too with temperature, I'm guessing.
Do what?
Changes in color with the temperature.
Yeah, it'll get a little bit paler too, just because it's foaming more and there's just more air, and that's physics stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it.
I changed color with the speed too.
The what?
It'll change color with the speed that you're laying it down as well.
Yep, a little bit, and I just keep default TPU speeds. If it looks a little wonky, I'll slow it down. I just kind of look at it. But yeah, that's kind of the basics of that. And yeah, so that's my little slicey thing.
Okay, great. And that's really exciting. Thank you for sharing something that I haven't.
You've made me interested in foamy filament.
It's a mad on my radar, stuff, right?
Yeah,
I guess awesome. That's the vote that I do bring some to Printopia.
Well, no, you should definitely print out examples and hit people in the head with them, and they'll definitely be interested.
Oh yeah, my bag gets passed around everywhere. I have this cute little handbag that I carry everywhere to all the events.
So. Is that the one with the Beverly Tan handle
with the pink PLA chain of the?
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I saw that.
Prototype of one of like 12 spools of the first Beverly Tan filament, but like I said, it's a different company. It's making the one that's getting released in Printopia. So, so I'm probably going to be wearing something made with that filament when it comes out, because I think it's actually a PTG that's coming out.
Okay. A picture of your handbag. Hold on here. There you go. Right, that one.
Yep. There's and a whole video about foamy. But yeah, it's a really fun one, and you can actually order it on ecovate3d.com. It comes in some fun colors.
And it ships.
Yep, we do actually ship it. Don't add cookie cutter or any other filament, because if you add one unshippable thing to your cart, it'll say the whole thing can't ship because it can't. The system's not smart enough, and it has a lot of text that says that's how that works, and people don't always believe me.
So would you say, interestingly enough, I have never printed TPU. Like, should I cross that bridge before I try to do the foamy filament?
Nah.
Okay.
As long as just don't think it's TPU and treat it like TPU. But it's gonna be everything's gonna have a learning curve, especially for like exotic filaments.
You call this exotic?
Like chocolate.
Yes, like chocolate. Yes.
So you're always gonna have like a little bit. Print slow is my main thing. Oven frame doesn't matter. Keep it dry. I don't use dryers. Actually, I almost never dry my filament. I'm that person. Yeah. Like I said, I'm a nightmare. So yes.
So the foamy filament is definitely very, very intriguing. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, I love this stuff. And they do Recrews makes a lot of weird stuff. So I sold Seb's filament, which is like what they use in scuba gear. What else? They have a conductive filament that we sell a lot of. That's pretty popular, and a lot of people really like their carbon fiber PETG. So just a really high quality one. There's a lot of other carbon fibers that get used for a lot of things, but the finish on that one I hear is really nice. I haven't had a chance to play with their carbon fiber PETG because it keeps getting sold before I get to play with one. So I know there's so many filaments that are so fun that I have in the store. I was like, have you used it? I was like, no.
Wow.
Because there's only 2 on the shelf and I can't use one. And I keep ordering extra, but they just keep selling.
The shoemaker's kids doesn't have the shoes.
Yeah.
So what now? Quick question for you, Beverly. Also about the entrance into the market with bamboo. Do you have the H2 in the store as well?
Sort of.
Okay. Fair enough.
I have never had one in the store for more than 3 hours.
People know you got it and they come running?
Yeah, well, usually I pre-sell them because they are very large. So it only, as a small business, I can't just have huge containers like, Micro Center does. So I have to order them in batches of 4, or shipping costs are insanity, pretty much. And I don't make any money. So to make money, I have to order them in batches of 4, but also have to pay up front for them. And that's a lot of money.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the margins on printers are not that great. And that goes across most brands because it's all about the consumables, and that's the same thing for those brands. That's why they all sell Filament.
So with the with those margins being that way and everything, like, how much trouble did the trade environment play in your pricing, in your sales?
Ruined my life.
It did.
Ruined my life.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah, I was gonna expand to a couple other brands, and I was gonna do a few things around the shop that are not getting done because I lost a lot of money. So everyone, please buy Filament from me.
We will.
Buy t-shirts. Help!
Wow.
Please shop at your local store. Tell your friends.
Absolutely.
Like, we're afloat, but we did not have a fun time.
Oh my goodness! No, I believe it. I mean, it's like, how can 3 or 4 months be so ridiculously disruptive for business?
And there were so many releases of new printers around that time too,
right?
That got delayed because of tariffs and getting stuck in customs. Like, it was an utter nightmare. And thankfully, I've built a really strong community, so a lot of people, like a lot of my customers and my regulars, like, they understand. I was like, hey, sorry, I know you pre-ordered your printer, and it's been like 3 weeks, but we're just having issues right now.
Right.
And most people have been pretty understanding. No one's asked for a refund. Some people are, one of my regulars was waiting for got his H2D, but he had sold his P1S.
Don't do that.
The day he ordered his H2D.
Don't do that.
And he didn't have a printer for like a month and a half.
Yeah.
Oh no.
It's a big
Poor guy.
problem. Yeah. And so now with the Voron, you also mentioned the Voron. To me, the system before Voron was Railcore, right? And then Voron came along and kind of just blew Railcore out of the water. Did you ever? You're bringing on Voron slowly now, it sounds like. Is that right?
Railcore is before my time in 3D printing.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Railcore is before my time.
Do you feel old, Lawrence?
I do.
And I feel old because I refer to ye olden days as anything prior to 2022.
Oh, but you are part of the old school crew because you made a rainbow.
Among Us, I made a Among Us
with a manual.
I did manually hot swap, which is why I consider myself an old 3D printer, but I'm not built out of acrylic and plexiglass and wood old.
I definitely built out of wood.
Yeah, no, I've never had a wooden printer.
I had like a dozen at one point in time.
Yeah, like, I am new enough that my first big girl printer was an Anycubic Mega X.
Wow.
Like the first printer I brought brand new. And I had my first like brand new printer I purchased came with a heated bed, and I was like the coolest kid on the block because I had a heated bed stock.
Wow.
And it was glass still.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a big fan of using glass as a print bed, but
me too.
I understand time marches on.
I'm also like, I'm the person that I have. Thanks to having a 3D printing store, and remember how I said that build plates are the highest margin item? I have way too many build plates. I absolutely will change my build plate before I wash them. Like, oops, just gonna swap the plate, and then it's like dirty dishes stacking up. Then someone will go and wash like 10 plates at once. Like, I'm not having a build plate.
That's a lot. Build plates. Build plates are kind of akin to what people use in ceramics. They have what they call a bat that sits on the spinning wheel. You take the bat off and you start making something else. So makes perfect sense.
And then someone will wash the plates. Sometimes it's me, but it's usually someone else. It's like, you need to wash those beds. It's like, I know. I have to walk to the kitchen to do it.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. Exactly.
I haven't had to wash my pink plate yet, and I've been printing with it all week. So.
Oh, well, that's another reason to get the pink plate.
Yeah, it's a cool plate. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah. And so. Well, my other question then is like, what do you think is what do you think that consumers coming into 3D printing now are gravitating towards the most as far as frequency is concerned? You know,
Like, what are
somebody.
they buying, or
You know, what printers are they buying?
I think there's more subcategories now, like 3D printing, like maintaining, like building and maintaining it and like operating 3D printing and printing stuff used to be the same
One and the same.
hobby.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
now they're two separate hobbies, It's like how I drive a car every day, but that doesn't make me a car person. I just
No.
operate it every day. Like
Right.
there's people who like making stuff, and then there's people who like building stuff.
Yes.
And those people are gonna get different printers. Like
Okay.
someone who
Okay.
loves building borons, they're not gonna buy bamboo. They're not walking in and buying bamboo for themselves. Maybe for their
Right.
kid,
But
but
the 400. But well, okay. I definitely understand what you're saying. So so people who are into building stuff, like taking an idea
they're gonna
and
come buy
building
a
that
Prusa
machine and
kit.
making it do stuff, they're buying Vorons.
Yeah, they want a Prusa kit, or maybe they want a boron. They want to buy parts, or they want a HUD if they want to like do more industrial stuff. If they want a printer that just prints, there's a lot of easier printers. Bamboo's popular because that's one that all the mom bloggers talk about. So I think they're like the brand that gets said the most because Bamboo has never released a bad printer.
Okay.
Bamboo has also released a lot less printers than anyone else. So that's not saying that Bamboo is better than everyone.
No.
Bamboo's been around for like 2 years.
Yes. Yeah. 2 years. Absolutely. But when you say
that's real. Every other printer company has released. Well, Prusa hasn't either, but every other printer company has released a bad printer at some point.
Well, now hold it for a second. Little caveat: Prusa did release a laser, an SLA printer that was slow, and then they made it faster. So the slow one may qualify as a bad printer, but outside,
I don't remember that happening.
Yep, before your time. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But like if you think of any other printer brand besides Bamboo and Prusa, you can think of a bad printer they've released. After releasing a good printer, usually.
There were some companies that made almost exclusively. I mean, use the term bad printers. We had a Folgertech. Folgertech made very sturdy and very large frames for their printers, but the movement was not particularly great, and so they were less reliable than you want them to be. And so if you were going to get a Folgertech that was going to really start humming and doing what you want, you were a machine builder. And if you were a machine builder and you got a Folgertech, it's the best thing that ever happened to you. But if you weren't willing to mess around with it, they definitely were full of what we call gremlins, So some printing companies release bad ones and some release good ones. And some of them, I think, it becomes obvious though when people are in the community, which print companies may be putting things out there a little bit faster than maybe they should. You wind up, if you pay attention long enough, you wind up seeing indications of that happening.
Exactly. So we've got like Bamboo and Prusa, which are kind of like the headline printers. That's what that's the name. Those are the brand names everyone wants. But there's a lot of good brands. Like right now we've got FlashForge. Right. And I'll be completely honest, I would have never sold the Adventurer 4.
Oh, really?
I would have never sold that printer.
Oh.
We only sell printers. I only sell printers I like. I would have never sold. I sell the 5 Pro.
Really?
Yeah. And I got a demo unit of the AD5X. And I am excited to sell that printer.
Oh, okay.
The multicolor handles TPU like a dream.
Really?
Yeah. So all those AMS complaints about your TPU not working in the AMS, gone.
Gone now.
Build plate's a little small, but and it's $400.
Really?
I'm gonna call that, as of right now, in all honesty, it's a better buy than the A1 combo. It takes up less space. Because it's side mounted.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't looked into that one. Is that
it's a pre-release right now. So we have pre-sales open. Right. I've got my pre-sales open for that one. I have I have one in unit in store. I got a few weeks. I got a pre-release.
Right.
So we've got a demo unit. And I think they ship in about a month.
FlashForge is a brand that's been around for a very long time, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
I ran into somebody that had a 2-color FlashForge 8-bit that was based off of MakerBot design. When the first MakerBot designs, they basically took the MakerBot design and made it 2-color. It works really, really well. That's so it's great to see a Flash Forge is putting something out there that seems to be pretty doggone innovative. So wow, well, thank you for sharing with that.
Yeah. So if you're around Raleigh, come by the store and come check it out, and we'll have them. I pre-ordered double what I normally get in a pre-order. So
okay.
That wants to tell you how excited I am for this printer. And
yeah,
I was not expecting to like it as much. Like I was gonna be like, okay, it's gonna be a good printer, and
right.
That's the thing. Like I don't dislike the Century Carbon. Like I like the Century Carbon. We're gonna sell it, but the point is, it's so slow. Like that release has been delayed so long. Like it's been like the first time I held the Century Carbon was over 2 years ago.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I was at an industry event and they handed it to me without the plug, and they were like, we're gonna tell you the name, we're not gonna tell you a single feature, and we're not gonna tell you anything. No price point, nothing. Here, this is called the Century Carbon. Have fun. Look at it, touch it, do whatever. It's not gonna shine, and you're not gonna tell you. And that was like 2 years ago.
Wow.
Like, and with the tariffs definitely made it worse, which is, but that's like, it's taken a minute.
Yeah.
And like consistency is a big thing for printer companies. And I'm also really excited for the new Snapmaker printer that's gonna be coming out. So Snapmaker is gonna be releasing a new printer July, August, and we will also be having a pre-release for that one. And that one I'm actually NDA'd, and I've got a lot of secrets. I can tell you it is called the letter U and the number 1, the U1.
Okay.
Which I don't know. I'm still deciding if I love or hate that name. U1. I don't know, but I have a lot of feelings about that name.
Exciting.
Well, you're gonna give it a new name anyways, right?
Yeah,
when it's yours.
When I talk about that printer model, it's like the U1. Yeah, I'm so. It looks better in writing than it feels to say, but I have given them that feedback too, by the way.
No,
but,
good.
I am very excited because I know that, and if you look at it, you'll see a lot of rumors, and a lot of the rumors don't match each other about this printer because it's been in development for years.
No kidding.
And I know which ones are true, and and the ones I wanted to be true are all true. So, yes.
All right.
So I really hope that this printer is going to be good.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward. So that's my next big thing I'm looking forward to, and of course, I will be making sure that I will have pink plates available for it immediately.
Oh, beautiful!
Even maybe a special pink Snapmaker jacket, so I have to do a pink plate for them.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Lady Gaga themed.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Well,
yeah, I haven't decided what color I'm gonna like do because it will be fun to customize.
With meat,
huh?
Cover it with meat, like the meat dress.
Oh, like the meat dress you wore at one time.
I thought about that, or like the disco glasses. Give me like glasses. So,
or the Super Bowl, one of her outfits from the Super Bowl halftime show that she did, that would be awesome too.
Right? There's just so much I could do with Gaga, so that will be really fun.
Wow. Okay, we got a question from.
Oh, the disaster relief.
Oh yeah, I did do a disaster relief project. So, as you know, as we were driving home from Printopia last year, there was this hurricane that happened. So I got home and I was like, wow, it got really bad. And
those towns got flooded out in North Carolina.
Yeah, and I actually went to college out in Western North Carolina, like at Western Carolina University. So I had a lot of contacts there. But yeah, so I was like, how can I 3D print my way into helping? So what we did, and at first everyone was like, oh, you can't 3D print basic necessities. I was like, I'm sure I can 3D print something because people did not want to help me ever because they were like, no, there's no way you can print water. I was like, except I could. Well, I couldn't print water, but I could do the next best thing. Water's being trucked in on just all sorts of stuff. And like the glue in like a lot of the piping that was used to transfer water on hoses was for like fire hoses, and it's non-potable because you don't need potable water for firefighting.
No.
So the water was potable and the truck was potable, but the hose was not. So we 3D printed IBC fitters. We also worked with Starlink adapters and all sorts of disaster relief. So I put it out to all the disaster groups. It's like, hey, do you need anything? Like, let me help you. And what happened was they were like, we need some things like, you know, like IPC, like tank fitters to like help with these water pipes. And we need Starlink adapter mounts. We need toothbrush covers, you know? And at some
Wow.
point, they're like, we need fidget toys for the kids that are panicking in the dark. And it was a really interesting experience because we turned in overnight into like 3D printing HQ, like a whole bunch of volunteers because school was out, because like a lot of like school was out and stuff here, you know, like
Right.
people, like the world kind of paused over here too. Like there were just lots of like
Yes.
rain delays. So, and kids just not going to school. So I had a bunch of bored teenagers and engineers that all just kind of showed up and
Oh.
started engineering. And it was really great for like decentralized engineering because we had people in Utah and in New York and around the country helping us test and engineer these products. And then we printed them. And I had literally a decentralized print farm of a bunch of teenagers around the area that picked up filament from the shop, went and printed stuff, dropped it back off, and I put it on a truck to go to Western Carolina because we were working
Wow.
with organizations. And that was really cool. And it was really fun because I got to speak to a lot of schools about it after, and you know, teaching kids of like, hey, yeah, like you can use things to do good. And you know, there are kids out there that can't, you know, they don't have internet, they don't have phones, they can't call their grandma, they can't call emergency services, they can't play Fortnite. The kids were really shook about the not being able to play Fortnite, and we're like, we got to
I
get these
believe
kids
it.
to the match. So
Yeah.
you know, so it was really cool to see so many community members step up. But you know, that's kind of just like what we wanted to do, and that is something in the future that I want to do a lot more community service printing of like, hey, how do we get, you know, people to print more fitters, and how do we get this out to people, you know, efficiently.
Yeah, that's
And
like a disaster relief hackathon of sorts.
yep. Well, that
Okay.
was actually all the filaments. So EPAX donated a bunch of filaments. So EPAX is a North Carolina-based company.
Oh,
They're our neighbors. They're 15 miles, and they very generously let me borrow their loading dock sometimes. But
oh.
yeah, they donated a bunch of filaments. So I think one of the wheels of the cart was broken, so we had an office chair to wheel it down into my car. We're engineers. We're creative.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, great. Wow. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, so we had a lot of fun doing stuff, and we want to just, you know, test it for like the decentralized manufacturing works, you know, like that's how we get like it was so easy to deploy a bunch of teenagers and high schools print like 3D printing labs that just like printed stuff.
Wow.
So a question from the chat, what kind of things would you make sure to add to your 3D printing disaster library? Sounds like fidget toys are definitely on that list, huh?
Yeah, I think you know, I'm not a professional like disaster relief person, but whatever they request, you know, I think what tools can be printed, and sometimes they're in the middle of a disaster. We're more focused on like, you know, getting stuff now, and no one on the disaster relief side is really thinking, okay, like this is what we can 3D print if they aren't 3D printing people. So I'm always looking for more feedback from people like, hey, like what are some tools? So I did go spend some time in the warehouse like poking around and being like, and like looking at stuff that they were collecting and being like, hey, I could 3D print more of those. Are you struggling? And so I did go down to the warehouses for a few days, and you know, like even though we had requests, I was like just poking around and being just like, hey, are you struggling getting these? Do you need more? What is this used for? And stuff like that. Because there was something, and there were a lot of occasions where they were like, yeah, it's a disaster. Like, we can't ship them in from China that fast. Like, we need that. Like, how can we get the faster? I was like, I can help you with that.
Wow.
You know, things
Good.
like glove holders were handy, toothbrush covers, like the mask savers. Like during the pandemic, a lot of people
Yeah.
printed mask savers, stuff
Big
like
time.
that. So we printed a lot of those.
Wow.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, that's staggering.
Well, this
Yeah,
seems
and
like
it really brought the community together, and it was just so cool. And you know, and now I've got even more space to do it. So just here to, you know, take over the world just a little bit, put a little more glitter on it.
Good. Well, the world is better with more glitter from you, Beverly. We appreciate it.
Well, you know, I hope that other people can realize that they can, like, you know, it's not that hard to do something, and even if it's just like a little thing, you can just do it, you know, like the here's everything was started by like a teenager. So, you know, and
Right.
it's just great that all these kids are learning 3D printing here. And that's one of the things that's going to, you know, build the infrastructure for manufacturing work to be here in the US. It's learning, you know, it's having the educational background and the desire to learn that you can create something out of, you know, nothing, and you can solve problems, because there's so many problems from just like, oh, well, this is really annoying that I can't do this. Like, do you ever buy like packing tape and it comes with those little red tape?
Yeah.
They're terrible. Well, I complained about it. One of the guys was just like, oh, we can just 3D print you like one of those like teacher desk like dispensers that fits your packing tape. And I was like, wow, that's so smart. So we did. And we made it
Right.
pink, because why not?
Oh, of course. Yes. You have to make it pink. Obligatory. Yeah.
So
But it's like you just print like simple solutions, and I think a lot of it comes with teaching not just, hey, here's how you use software, but the mindset of you can come up with anything. And
Solve
that's my favorite,
problems.
because I have a lot of parents bringing in their like, you know, younger kids, and some of them are teaching their kids business. Be like, oh, you sold this many fidgets last week to your friends or whatever, and now you have this much money to buy filament for this profit, and they make the kids do all the math, and I don't help them. So
Wow.
yes.
Cool.
I don't help them with the math, but
No.
they're getting really good at it. And part of it is like the critical thinking skills of, oh, I can invent this, you know, because they just don't realize. And
Yeah.
you know, so like that's how we breed innovation into, you know, our community, by giving people the tools and the education and the critical thinking skills to be like, can I engineer this? Can I make that?
Right.
And the answer is usually yes.
Or tell yourself, I need to engineer this, I need to make that, and just work into it backwards because of drive or necessity. So yeah.
It's the new lemonade stand, says Karen Chow.
Yes, very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Which is true. My oldest son did go through a phase where he's selling 3D prints to middle schoolers.
Oh yeah, and it's been like so many kid entrepreneurs are great, and some of them are learning how to use foamy because they get really impressed. I was like, oh yeah, those kids are gonna make a killing. I want to do like a 3D printing like kids entrepreneurship class, like summer camp. Like that's one of my dream projects to do.
Are you gonna make them read business plans?
Yes. Probably. I'm gonna make them read each other's business plans, because that's how my degrees aren't in engineering, which is hilarious because I have a lot of parents come in and they ask, oh, like if my kid wants to do this for a living, what degree did you go? Where did you go to school? I'm like,
right.
I have a poetry degree and a TV producing / screenwriting degree. I have
Good
2
for
BA.
You are, but that's beautiful. That really, the technology opening doors for people just because they're interested or just because they want to pursue it, and that's really one of the huge beautiful things about 3D printing. You know, so great. It's great that you write that you're able to write poetry and screenwrite and be a creative. That creative part feeds what's going on with your business as well.
It makes me a good speaker, honestly. You know,
Yeah.
and that's what I always said. It's like it made me everyone's like, did that benefit? It was like, yeah, my LinkedIn posts are great and get so much attention. Like my emails are amazing.
Wow. Good stuff. Not a skill that I have just yet. I'll work on it.
Do you have any speaking engagements coming up?
Actually, no. I think I'm done with my summer tour, with my like spring tour. So I'll probably be doing a lot at Formnext. I've got 2 companies right now that are they're both trying to bring me out for Formnext to throw parties for them. So I also host people's after parties and plan things. So you know, I go do just I go help out. You know, like companies pay me, I fly out, I smile. Sometimes I get on the stage, sometimes I plan a party, and you know, I just kind of do a lot of coordinating and support for that. I'm not really sure if I have a real job title with any of these companies. And yeah, we've got some fun events coming up, so stay tuned if you're in the area. Polymaker is going to be doing an event in the near future at Ecovate. Nico has some fun things to unveil, so if you pay attention to their stream and their channels, you'll hear more as we develop some fun little secrets. If you're local, you kind of already know what's going on if you're like a regular in the shop. But you know, the big announcements will be coming out soon, and then Bamboo will be coming to visit in mid-July to launch a fun new program. It's a student ambassador program, actually. And I'm actually consulting on it. So if anyone knows any middle school or high schoolers that wants some deeply discounted bamboo printers and a lot of free filament in exchange for being a school ambassador and being sponsored by Bamboo, applications are open. Reach out to me on Discord, Instagram, or whatever, because they would like students like, in this Southeast region, because it would be easier for us to support them. And, the HQ for it will be hosted with us. So there'll be a live Q&A when Bamboo comes to visit for that program, and a lot more coming up too. And yeah, it's really fun to do. So yeah, but we're looking for just awesome, like outgoing, students that just want to spread the word, and they don't have to be active Bamboo users. They just have to love 3D printing.
Good.
And be willing to convert to Bamboo users.
You might have some candidates in the chat. All right. Oh my goodness. So I feel like we've just barely scratched the surface of you.
I can talk all day. It's my job. I do it for like 7 hours a day most days. I know. You need to come visit the store, Vicky.
I know. It's not that far from me, I don't think. So that would be great. And I think
I'm thinking about it too.
You have some good Ethiopian restaurants in Raleigh. So I would like to eat
I will
there.
totally join you for some good Ethiopian food. Yeah, I love Ethiopian food.
All right. Well, thank you so much for giving us so much of your time and letting us pick your brain and learn lessons from you. Chat, thank you so much for all of your questions and helpful comments, and just being here and sharing your Prime Tuesday with us. As we mentioned at the top of the show, we stream live on Tuesdays that are prime numbers. Lawrence, we have a little break. The next prime number will be July 29th.
Oh, wow.
Right.
We'll have I think my family will celebrate 4 birthdays before our next. Hey, it's the same amount of small businesses that you have, Beverly. 4
that's a lot of birthdays.
Yeah. But good cake. Lots of cake. An opportunity to print chocolate.
I
know. Yes. I don't have a Cocoa Press yet, and I need to get one. I need to
find really space.
I have received 6 demo printers in the past month, so I have to figure out where I'm going to put everything, because I just have so many. It's there's just a lot of new releases coming up, because and I know there's about to be a lot of release coming because boxes just start showing up. And I'm like, okay, because again, I don't sell anything I don't like. So our Cocoa Press doesn't have a dedicated spot yet. It's kind of like taken over the dining room table. So my mom hasn't said anything yet because she's getting chocolate. So, but I guess the first time we have guests to come eat at the dining room table, I'm going to have to move the thing. No, they just eat around it. They'll just eat more chocolate. It'll be fine.
Have them print dessert while they're there.
Yep. I do have a pancake bot. That's how old I am in 3D printing. I own a pancake bot. It's in the back closet. I don't know why I still have a pancake box. I never use it. I don't like pancakes that much. But
Obama got one demoed for him, so there's plenty of reason to at least have it as a historical artifact.
Right. I don't know how many pancake bots there are out in the wild, but one of them is in my shop.
Wonderful.
All right. Any parting words, anybody?
Thank you so much for coming, Beverly. Really had a great time.
Thanks so much for having me. And to the audience, feel free to follow me. Hit me up. I'm usually an open book if I'm, awake.
I have you have Ecovate 3D.
Yep. And then there's the Linktree, Linktree/Ecovate 3D. And then, for the sillier stuff, there's Ecovate 3D on Instagram and my personal one, which is Beverly Tan Film.
You know what? I put the Linktree in the YouTube video or the YouTube description.
Yay!
Yes.
Here we go.
I don't know a whole lot about streaming, so I was like, I don't know what anyone else sees.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, specialized.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and
try to get this,
everyone.
We'll get this
last link up.
Oh,
there you
one
go.
more.
My little my parting gift is the link to your link tree.
Wonderful.
Nice.
All right. Well, thank you again, everyone. Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you, Beverly. Thank you, everybody watching. I hope everyone has a great night or morning if you are Tessa over in Australia. See you in July.
Thank you so much. Have a good night. Good night.
Good night.
She jumped off.